All right, welcome to BS with Joe.
And this is BS. That's Joe.
It's true.
All right. Yeah, it's not real bullshit. It's just Brad Scott.
Well,
It makes fun title.
it's both.
Yeah, I do give some bullshit. All right. So what are we talking about today, Joe?
You wanted to tell me about the EPA funneling billions of dollars into a climate organization?
Yes. So the EPA has been funneling all this money into a climate organization to go after, climate change is so bad. And it's more of a political ploy to go after the right, who's saying, oh, there's nothing really going on with the climate. The climate is shifting, but it's not shifting that much. You look at, so like in the 80s, they went and said that
The ozone layer.
the ozone layer, or sea levels rising. Well, if that was over, 40 years ago, why hasn't the sea level rise?
Well, it has risen a little.
No.
Like 6
Plymouth,
inches.
yeah, 6 inches from Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock is still not underwater. That was the first settlers on this continent.
This is true.
So, hole in the ozone layer. Why haven't we burned up if there's a hole in the ozone layer?
Well, there was legitimately a hole in the ozone layer, but we took steps and the hole in the ozone layer was repaired.
Not only that, but like I've even heard scientists actually talk about if we continue with
Oops.
that's going to be another part of the show.
Yeah. I just wanted to take it out of the... Go ahead.
The lock screen.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so the hole in the ozone layer and all this other stuff, the carbon emissions. There's a scientist that's saying that we're close to going into an ice age because we're not producing enough carbon emissions to keep the planet warm. Because we're having all these plants and all this other stuff absorbing a lot of the carbon emissions. Not only that, but if you go into
I don't know that I think that's bullshit.
it could be bullshit. That's the thing. That's why it's BS with Joe. But you look at Ian Crossland on his channel and also with Tim Pool. He's always talking about how carbon fiber and carbon this and using all this and being able to pull carbon actually out of the atmosphere. That'll reduce the carbon footprint immensely.
Yeah.
So it'll reduce the carbon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's used as a political tool more than anything else. Like you look at Al Gore and his reference. He was saying by this time we would all be burning alive if we didn't change our ways. And we did change. But if you look at other countries like China, they're burning more coal than we have ever burned.
Their carbon footprint is through the freaking roof.
And that's where everything's being manufactured. That's why I hope Trump can bring some of that here. Not so we could burn coal, but so that way we could have products made here and more environmentally conscious.
And bring some skilled labor jobs back.
Yeah. And that would help with the class disparity, which we've kind of been talking about this last couple of segments.
Beat that horse.
I am beating it to death because I want everybody to be able to afford their a family with one income and a house and a car, like back in the 50s.
Be able to afford a house.
Yeah, and
or even somebody that chooses not to get married and have kids, they should be able to support themselves.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like anymore, there's couples that came and support themselves. They're almost renting a 3-bedroom apartment or 2-bedroom apartment and having a roommate, and they're a couple themselves and barely struggling to get by.
They say that your rent or housing payment should not be more than a third of your salary.
Yeah.
And at $50,000 a year, you can only afford $1,000 a month.
Yeah. And apartments are going for more than $1,000 a month in Orlando.
The average 1-bedroom apartment for a single person is like $1,500 a month.
Yeah, that's
It's like $1,460, I think.
That's ridiculous.
Is the average.
So that's that with the EPA funneling billions of dollars into.
So they're trying to use that as like an insurance policy against what Trump's trying to do.
Yes. I don't know exactly how that works, but that's what I saw.
Well, they're trying to take the funding away.
Yeah, they're taking the funding away from the EPA and putting it towards this, so Trump has no means of that, I guess.
Well, Trump was going to cut off the funding to the EPA.
Yeah, he should.
Because they're another one of the agencies that have decided to take the law into their own hands.
Oh yeah, well, Chevron deference.
Yeah.
And that I could go into Chevron deference into so many different ways.
Yeah.
Because agencies shouldn't be the ones writing laws.
Right.
That goes for the ATF. I don't care who you are.
Bureau of Land Management.
Bureau of Land Management. It should be our Congress or our House of Representatives in the states to make those laws, because they're elected. That's we the people that are voicing that.
Right.
Not bureaucrats like, I'm gonna make this illegal.
Right. Yeah. The elected officials should make the laws, because they're the ones that represent the people.
Yeah.
An unelected bureaucrat has no authority.
Yeah.
None.
But yet, they've been given an approval for authority.
Because the powers that be have created a fourth branch of government.
Yeah.
That needs to die.
It does. Well, not only that, but the Supreme Court back in the 80s or 90s, I don't remember when Chevron deference was first gone to the Supreme Court, they ruled in favor of Chevron deference.
They did.
That's what gave the EPA the power, the ATF the power, and all these different organizations these powers.
Yeah. Then they realized their mistake.
They realized their mistake, and they walked it back, and now Chevron deference is not allowed.
Right.
And that's awesome. I got handed to some of our Supreme Court justices.
I think they've been doing great.
They've been doing great. Because I like listening to some of their dissents on certain things.
I like to read them.
You read them. I'm more of an auditory listener. I listen to stuff.
I absorb it better when I read it.
Yeah. Because I like mowing the lawn and listening to this stuff.
I used to do it when I was driving. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So is there anything else you want to talk about on this segment?
Does that lead us into the foreign spending you wanted to talk about?
Yes. So foreign spending. Biden spent $1 billion in Africa for their drought and other things. And there's a famous comedian in the 80s. I don't remember his name. He's like, food aid and water aid and all this other aid. Move. Go somewhere else. Don't live in a desert.
I think that was George Carlin.
George Carlin? Oh, I think it was.
Or was it Sam Kinison?
The one that yelled a lot. Sam Kinison.
Yeah.
You look it up. It's a great skit. But he's absolutely right. If you're living there and...
But don't look up Sam Kinison if you can't handle profanity.
Yes, he is very vulgar with language. Yes. But it's one of those things that if you're living in an area that's, we live in a hurricane zone.
Right.
But
we know it's a hurricane zone.
Right, and we've also built the infrastructure to handle hurricanes.
Right.
If you're living in a drought area like Africa has... They know when it's going to be a drought. They know when there's going to be water.
Right.
They should be prepared. They should already have that.
Well, they can't even create a stable form of government in some of those areas.
No, they can't. And that also goes to, why are we spending money on that instead of helping out like the victims in North Carolina and Tennessee that still don't have houses, and it's December.
Yeah.
They're freezing. They need help. And why are we spending money in Africa that's going to use it to buy guns and probably shoot more people because it's a war-torn country?
Yeah. War-torn continent.
Yeah. And the thing is and that's another area where they need to, I know I attack our government a lot because we have a lot of really good communities and states and counties that support themselves.
We do.
And
overall, we're doing pretty good.
We're doing really good.
Is there room for improvement?
Oh, there's always room for improvement.
That's why we're talking about this stuff.
Right. And Africa needs to improve, but why are we giving them all this money when they can't even decide where that money is probably going to go?
True.
And same thing with
it's not just the government giving them money, though. I mean, there's church groups and there's scientific groups. There's that guy that developed that machine that takes water out of the air.
Yeah, reverse osmosis.
Right, and he did that on his own and spent millions of dollars to give them these machines that gave them water.
Well, there's also apologize about my dog. I swear I'm going to muzzle her maybe. No, I can't do that to my baby, but I'll probably put her in another room.
Oh, she's fine.
Yeah. So, there's a charity organization that's all they do is they drill wells.
Right.
To provide water for them.
Yep.
And so,
and all these churches that go on missions, they're going to Africa.
Yeah, and so they have that.
For the most part.
Our government needs to not help them. They need to help our people, because I don't see Africa actually helping our people. I don't see other countries helping our people.
Africa can't help themselves.
They can't help themselves. They can't help us.
Right. It's just like Puerto Rico. If they want to be a state, fix your shit.
Yeah. And it may seem like as if we're attacking these countries or these areas. We're not. I know they need help, but we need to help Americans first. Right. Then let's help them.
Yes. Get our ducks in a row.
Right. And also with all the foreign spending I want to talk about is with Ukraine and Russia, Biden took all their money that they had tied up in certain funds. I think it was like $50 billion or more, even more than $50 billion. And it was supposed to be tied up and not giving back to Russia. Well, Ukraine. Well, it was Russian. It was Russian money.
Oh, okay. All right.
With the SWIFT system and the banking system.
The money that we seized.
The money we seized. Well, what we did with that money is we gave it to Ukraine this past couple of weeks.
Oh, we're supposed to hold that.
We're supposed to hold that. So
which
that's
means
actually...
we're now liable for that $50 million.
Right.
$50 billion.
$50 billion.
So now the United States government is liable for that money.
Yes, and also could be an act of war.
Well, yeah. Again. Biden, come on.
Yeah, quit poking the bear. I do not want to have our screaming eagle go after the bear.
What do we got, 40 days left?
Yeah, we got to get there. We got to get there. Can't wait. Also,
and we know that, I say Biden, please, but we all know that he's not the one pulling the strings. He doesn't have a string to pull.
Right. And also, we got a fun little video that we're going to implement on this segment talking about...
we'll play the audio of it for you.
Yeah, the audio. We can't really play the video. We haven't gotten quite that technologically advanced yet.
That TV doesn't work.
Yes. We're going to get to this point someday. But before you start the video, give us a little of information about the video. It's so I'll tell you. What it is it's an individual explaining...
It's the disrespected trucker.
Yeah.
On X.
Yeah, that's his channel. And he explains it perfectly on how Trump delusion is with some Democrats and other things. And he points it out and he talks about it perfectly.
Yeah.
And so...
so Brad played it for me and I was like, we should share that.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to play it through this little speaker. So hopefully it picks it up on our microphone on our recording device.
Okay, here we go.
Play it.
Platform. It is most geared towards narcissists. It is most geared towards people with heavy narcissistic traits. Don't you think it's a little bit weird how they keep accusing people of doing what they're doing to people?
So true.
Hey, I hope you get what you voted for.
He's pointing to the definition of gaslighting.
Best interest. Kamala lost because of sexism and misogyny. You guys are all uneducated. I hope you get what you voted for. We're gonna start a 4B movement and swear off men. Ladies, divorce your husbands and get ready to poison them. Guys, we haven't been arguing left versus right. We've been arguing empaths versus narcissists. That doesn't mean that every single Democrat has NPD, no. But narcissistic traits, we all have them in varying degrees. Begin in childhood through a combination of factors like overindulgence, excessive praise for superficial qualities. I really want you to pay attention to Kamala's voter demographics. I really want you...
So one thing real quick, I had to pause the video.
Okay.
This is also going to education. So like he was pointing out the praise. So a lot of the school systems are, and this is how they're trying to protect legacy media, is they're going like, you got to get from these sources.
Right.
And not use your own logical thoughts and
Actually, I know what you're talking about. There was an article not very long ago where a college student turned in a paper and referenced some podcasts as his sources. And
Yes.
he was failed because it didn't come from the proper sources.
the legacy media.
Right.
It doesn't mean that what's happening is happening.
I mean, I listen to podcasts, but I don't take those podcasts as fact.
No.
I take them as a tool to then further research.
Right. And that's what I do. I'll listen to one podcast that says this, and then I'll go to another podcast, and then a lot of times I can find out it goes to a professor. Now, we may not be able to name these professors by name
Right.
or these individuals by name.
Well, I could with Milton Friedman last week.
Yes, you could. But it doesn't mean that they're factual.
Right.
I mean, and you could use your own logic. And that's what we're talking about, is logic versus, they say so it's got to be true.
Right.
You know, if that's the case, you know, it's something that I taught my nephews at a young age. I told them brown cows make chocolate milk. And they believed me for the longest time. And then when they were told that I was lying to them and they were laughed at, they learned a valuable lesson. Now, yes, it's kind of a harsh lesson, and I'm a product of the Gen X, so this is how we learn. So I teach it the way I learned it, and so they can't always believe what is told to them.
When I was very young, my dad's born on the 4th of July. Mm-hmm. So when I was very young, I believed that the whole country was celebrating my dad's birthday.
Oh, wow. Yeah. See, so, and that's a great tool to allow an individual to learn about using their own logic skills to obtain the truth versus just believing what is told to them.
Right.
Do you want to continue with the video? Because it's still got a few more talking points that he brings
I
up.
want you to pay attention to Kamala's voter demographics. I don't think I need to say it a third time for you to understand that that's the gigantic context clue that you need to be looking at to understand why we have a narcissist problem in this country. A lack of emotional validation or experiencing trauma, which can lead a child to develop an inflated sense of self-importance and a need for constant admiration to feel valued. Again, look at Kamala's demographics. Look at her demographics. You tell me
he doesn't like
which
Kamala.
one of these demographics are given to overindulgence at an early age and being excessively praised for superficial qualities. And when it comes to her black vote, no, that wasn't this narcissism, even though the black men were coerced. Let's be real about it. Black men, you know that if you voted any other way, your home life would have exploded. You were facing narcissism in your home life.
Not only exploded, but they may have been
There you
poisoned.
go. I just gave you the answers to the test. You're going to reject it. Of course you're going to reject it because, well, me being right means a lot of horrible things in your personal life. And that's just too scary for you to cope with right now. And that's perfectly fine. Reject it if you will. I'm just trying to put power into your hands. I'm trying to give you more knowledge and control over what's been going on in your life. If you don't want to take it, I'm more than happy to take advantage of this knowledge and let you run around blind.
He's not wrong.
He's not. And I mean, it goes down to the whole participation trophy thing.
Yep.
You know, and it's a systemic issue with. I think that it's breaking though.
It is breaking.
It is breaking. For a long time, I think the millennial generation was the one that were the ones that had a real problem with the participation trophies and validation for doing nothing. I don't think Gen Z's got that problem.
I don't think they have that problem either. Also, like, now here's another thing with the demographics: men versus women. So, a lot of times throughout history, men and women experience the same kind of cultural experiences.
Yeah.
Lately, there's been a shift. So a lot of men are becoming more conservative. Younger men, younger generation, are becoming more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of women are becoming more liberal. And this shift, from my perspective on this, we could even do a whole nother segment, but I'm just going to touch into it a little bit because we're running a little long on this segment. Actually, we'll just leave it for another segment. But that's it. Like, subscribe, share the show. Please leave a comment. That's the only way we could get this going.
Yep.